Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race, we are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 323 of the Running for Real podcast. This is a solo episode. It's been a while. I can't think about the last time I did a full solo episode. It has been a while. I feel like there's a lot to update you on, a lot I want to share. And if you're someone who runs on the Together runs, you will probably know some of this. But I haven't talked in detail in a vulnerable and raw way that I love to do with you in a while. And I felt that it was time to do so, particularly as we are coming up to the end of the year. I know that we're all swamped with all those like recap and catch up and summary episodes that come around that November, December time. And I, for one, feel like I want to listen to those, but I just don't have the space. I understand with many of you that may be the case with some of our previous episodes, and I understand. I really do. And so today I wanted to catch up with you in a real way. If it's been a while since we connected, if we haven't talked online in a few months or even a few years, I want to say hi. I want to welcome you back. I would love to connect with you and hear how things are going in your life. Sometimes this can feel so one-sided with me talking into the mic or me doing these social media things. I love to hear the feedback from you about what you're up to. That is one of the key reasons I started Together Runs. That is one of the best things about it that you, I know, love. And that is actually why we ended up creating, having Patreon be a key place for Together Runs. You will notice now that Together Runs are every other week on the main podcast feed. And that is because all the travel Together Runs where I take you with me. I know we don't often get the opportunity to go to all these cool places, and the feelings, at least for me, the feelings I get when it feels like everyone in the world is, or everyone in my running world at least, is in one city, one place, and I'm not there, is so isolating. And at Running for Real, you know that we care about that. We're trying to change that. And so I wanted to find a way to take you with me. So when I go to a location, I take my mic, and almost every run I do is for you, is to take you with me so that we're exploring that area together. And so if you head on over to Patreon, which is patreon.com/running for real, you can learn about the various tiers, the levels of support that you give me so that I can continue offering things for free. And you will see that there's various levels that include these travel together runs that I mentioned, which some of them are long runs, some of them are workouts. You also get live Zoom Q&As with me once a month. There is the opportunity to get a training plan on one of the levels in the month. And you can ask your questions for weekly strides, for upcoming guests, and you'll get heads up on who upcoming guests are. And it's just a great place for us to connect. I really am loving seeing the feedback that you're giving, the things you're noticing on your runs or questions that you have. Thank you so much to those of you who are already over there, and I'd love to see you there. All right, so let's get back on track. This is not one big plug episode, although I hope you know with me that I say what's on my mind. I'm very selective about who I work with, and it is important to me that I do speak up for myself because it doesn't come naturally, and it's something that feels very awkward when I'm doing it. I want to just skip over that part, but it is an important part of allowing me to keep doing what I'm doing. Okay, so where do I begin here? I actually haven't planned this out in any way about what I want to share with you. I think I want to share this revelation that I had just a few weeks ago. I've mentioned in my newsletters, in my social media posts on Together Runs and various other places that I'd been feeling lost. I knew that my previous podcast direction, previous Running for Real direction didn't quite fit anymore. And I was honest with that. I said about that. I said I felt a bit like I couldn't tell where I was going. It was like I was at a crossroads and I couldn't tell which was the direction to go. And there wasn't like there was a wrong answer. I strongly believe that things happen the way they do. But I just didn't have a direction. And it felt like everyone else around me did. And they were growing and they were moving things along. And of course I was too. You know, we're always the most harsh and judgmental on ourselves and how our path is progressing. And the amount of people I talk to who I say this or said this to them at the time that I felt like I was stuck. And they'd say, "Are you crazy? Like, what are you talking about? You just did this and you just did that." But you know, we do it to ourselves, don't we? We look at everyone else who seems to be just moving along, growing, learning, progressing, and we feel like we're left behind. I used to feel like it a lot in my running. It felt like all the other competitors were racing all the time and they were PRing all the time. And it felt to me like I'd do a race and it would go well. But then in that 3 to 4 months between the next race, it was like, how's that person already racing again? Wow, didn't they just race? But that's our own, or at least for me, my inner critic, right? It's that voice that says, well, you're not thinking about other people all the time, are you? You're thinking about yourself. And so for you, it feels like it takes forever. But for everyone else, it also feels like it takes forever. And I kind of felt like that. And then a few weeks ago, it became crystal clear. I suddenly knew what I wanted to do. And not only did I know what I wanted to do, I knew my purpose. I knew my role. I could describe it succinctly. Imagine that. Me describe something succinctly. I shouldn't say that. I probably can't. But I could describe it. And I did. I had practice on these 2 people that I met that day at the Chicago Marathon, or one of the days on the Chicago Marathon. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. I had these 2 men that I met at lunch. I was introduced to them by the COO, the Chief Operating Officer for Chicago Event Management. And they had these really impressive roles, not just in the race, but one of them was an expert in crowd science, an expert who helped on the Queen's funeral and the day that she died in organizing how the crowd should flow and predicting how the crowd should flow. I mean, if that's not an impressive job, if you're called in for the Queen's funeral, you're good at what you do. Anyway, so I was feeling very much imposter syndrome, but I was able to explain what I did. And so much so that both of them handed me their business cards, one of which was a metal business card. So I found that even more impressive. And I've connected with both of them since, and they have said that my conversation with them has stayed with me. So you're wondering, what is she going to say here? I always said that I was the bridge between recreational runners and elite athletes, that I, way back in, 2012 to 15, 16, 17, I was able to say the things that most elites didn't want to show the vulnerability or let their walls down to say. And there were a few others. Lauren Fleshman comes to mind as someone who would speak up and be open about her journey. But for the most part, it was very much just me saying, yeah, at mile 23, I am saying, what the is going on here? My body is broken. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done. Like, what are you doing? You're an idiot, Tina. Go back to bed. And you wouldn't think elite runners would think those thoughts. And I remember as I would share about this, people would just be astounded and say, wow, that's amazing. And so I always felt like I was the bridge. And especially once I stepped away from elite running, I felt that even more, because I now was, okay, still fast. I will give that. Running is relative. We know that. But I'm still, even if I didn't run for 2 months, I probably could still run a pretty decent time. And I know that. That is part of my talent. That is part of my years of training. And that is one of my headwinds in life. Well, no, not headwinds, tailwinds in life. But now I figured out what my next bridge is. So as you know, for me, sustainability is a huge passion of mine. I finally a few months ago decided to take the leap and start talking about it, because I realized that I wasn't saying things because the environmental activists, the scientists were saying, look, all this individual action does absolutely nothing. So stop focusing on that. If you want to be an advocate, an ally, an activist, you better be damn talking about policy, about getting people to call up their senators, about getting people to go to city council meetings and speak up, about going to parent school board, whatever, meetings and speaking up about these things. And I know, even for me, as someone who really cares about this stuff and annoys the hell out of my local newspaper who continues to deliver papers in red plastic bags every week, even though no one picks them up. I know that for me, that's hard. I've never called up my senator. I've emailed him. And to most people, they're just going to shut down. You're going to shut down, right? Because you just don't have the brain space to be able to think about the courage it takes to call up a senator, even though you know they're not going to answer the phone. It's very intimidating. And with that and many things, it feels like a distant problem that we're just going to say, you know what, I'll do that later. It's going to get pushed down the list. And we know deep down we'll never do it. And so I realized, okay, but then no one's doing anything. And if every single person who I've ever connected with in the running world, if every single person never bought a plastic bottle ever again, would that have a difference? No, not even the tiniest percentage. But every time I talk about these things, about little things you can do in your life that you can do, and you have been doing, many of you have been reaching out to me saying, hey, I did this, or I changed that, or I'm so proud of myself for remembering to do this. I've had people say to me, I was in Target and I had a roll of a paper towel in my hand, and I looked at it and I thought about you, and then I put it back. Or I had my hand over the trash can with a tortilla bag in my hand, and I was about to let go, and I thought, nope, I can reuse that as a Ziploc bag. That's in your mind. That's a seed. And that means that it grows. Trust me, I know. It grows over time. And it makes change happen, because then people start to notice and maybe have the courage to say to their friend who's a restaurant owner, like, hey, do you have a plant-based option? So I decided to take that leap and I started speaking out. And almost immediately of doing 100 days of sustainability, which you can see if you follow me on Instagram at TinaMuir88, almost immediately things started to come to me, fall into my lap. And I could not believe it. All these years I hadn't been saying something. And so here I was at the Chicago Marathon, helping out with the sustainability initiatives, helping out with the team. And I was doing everything they asked me to do and more, including climbing fully into the trash cans, bins that were set out. Because when you're working this stuff and you're trying so hard to get people to separate compost, recycling, and trash, and you've done so well, and the recycling bin looks amazing, it's just plastic, and then you see a single banana peel in there, or you've got the compost and someone's thrown a Starbucks cup in there. At that point, I was climbing in there, and I knew it was dirty, but I just didn't care, because I care about this stuff, but I also was committed at this point, and I knew the work that we had done and how that one item of contamination could just mean the whole thing goes in the landfill. So I was documenting what I was doing, as well as, getting my hands dirty. And then it dawned on me, this is my role. Because if races like Chicago Marathon or any of the New York Road Runner races, or brands like Allbirds are printing their kilograms of carbon per product made on the clothes. So it says the carbon number, and they are working diligently. And let me tell you, obsessively. I just recently went to the Allbirds HQ, and it was a dream come true. It was a beautiful place to be in so many ways. They are trying to cut that down, but they are displaying it. But if no one knows what that number means, and it's just a number, is that going to change anyone's mind? Does anyone actually know what Allbirds is trying to do? When other brands come along and finally add their carbon numbers, are people going to know what that means? No. And that's when I realized that's my role. I'm the bridge between the initiatives, the steps people are taking, the practices people are following through, or brands and events and whatever else are following through with, and everyone else. Planting those little seeds in our running community so that every day that's growing, every day I'm watering those seeds every single day. So when so we're building this wave, I kind of almost see it as like, I see the climate movement as like, I'm trying to recruit people for an army, and it's an army to battle climate change with the world, with nature, with the animals. The animals are already on board. The trees are already on board. We've got to get the people. And I'm collecting people one day at a time, one person at a time. And that is my role, to get people to think, to care, to make small changes that make absolutely no difference when you look at them individually, but they build the momentum so people then vote for the climate conscious person. So they think and ask about things a bit more. So on that note, I want to just take a moment to thank one of our sponsors of this episode, because while I am on this path, as you can imagine, sustainability is not exactly the place you go to become a billionaire. Not that I want to be a billionaire, but we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to continue this. I wouldn't be able to do what we do without our team. And myself and our team are supported by the brands that we work with here on the podcast, and also by Patreon. So if you want to head on over to Patreon, you can. Again, there's a link in the show notes, patreon.com/running4real with the number 4, patreon.com/running4real. But I also want to thank another of the brands that we work with who, yes, do not print their carbon number on things, but they care. They give so much to the running community, and it is beautiful to see how it has grown because of this brand. And not only that, they make their products so high in quality that they last. The items I was given in 2019 are still in just as good condition as they were back then. They are comfortable, they are durable, they can handle so many elements of weather. And now my favorite Brighton base, you know what I'm talking about, Tracksmith. My favorite Brighton base, it is the ideal time of year for. I wear it as much as I possibly can because it's just perfect. And it was so cool at Chicago seeing me talk about this. Say, what was your favorite thing? And I'd say, the Brighton base. And they'd like, this, really? And I'd say, yep. And they would buy it and try it on the shakeout run and be like, yes, I totally get it. It kept me warm in the core and warm in my arms. But then as I warmed up, somehow it let the heat out. But my arms stayed warm enough. It's just ideal. So you can check that out. But today I want to tell you a little bit more about Tracksmith and about their Eliot Runner. So Tracksmith is an independent running brand inspired by a deep love of the sport. For years, the brand has been elevating running wear using the best-in-class materials in timeless silhouettes that perform at the highest level. Now they're doing the same with footwear. The Eliot Runner was developed to meet the rigorous demands of committed runners, providing the perfect balance of cushioning, responsiveness with the classic Tracksmith style. The inspiration for the Eliot Runner started with a feeling many runners experience, the delight in finding a natural surface while out for a run. Logging thousands of miles across New England, the Tracksmith team found those moments on pine needle trails, wood chip paths, and old indoor tracks. That's the sensation they wanted to bring to the roads. Soft, resilient, responsive, and ready for anything. Step into the Eliot Runner, a Pebax-powered trainer inspired by the pep of New England's natural surfaces. On October 24th, Tracksmith will debut the exclusive opportunity to pre-order the Eliot Runner. You can also see the Eliot Runner at their Boston store and at their New York City Marathon pop-up. For more information, go to tracksmith.com/Tina. Nice and easy for you to remember there. tracksmith.com/Tina. So coming back to what I was saying, obviously there's a balance there. I don't want to be jetting off here, there, and everywhere to figure out how I'm going to support these races, organizations, brands. But I also believe in the bigger picture of, again, planting those seeds of recognizing and understanding and showing what is being done. So Chicago is a great example. The heat sheets that are put on people's shoulders as they finish the race. If you take those heat sheets home with you and throw them in the trash, they just end up in a landfill. But those heat sheets that we collected at the marathon, those heat sheets are then turned into park benches, which are donated to community parks that line the Chicago Marathon course, giving back to those communities where the race went, which so many of those communities are often just kind of used and abused as a place for people to run through and then done no further thought given. This is a way that simply running the race and simply handing me your heat sheet, if you're going to reuse it at another race, that's amazing. Reuse always. But that gives you the opportunity. But if no one knows that collecting the heat sheets turns into park benches, then how are they supposed to be a part of that change? So that's really where it's become clear that my role is, and I'm very excited about it. So if you have any ideas or thoughts or opportunities that come to mind for you or someone you work with or whatever, please let me know. I am fully committed to this at this point and very excited. Beyond that, I have mentioned in a few recent podcasts about amenorrhea recovery resource that we are creating, and the team is working very hard to get this together. We are also working with some of the best experts in the world to make this a place that there are free resources that are educational and help you with kind of diagnosis of RED-S, of figuring out what is going on with your body. And then if you really want to dive in, we're going to have a place for you to be with other people going through the same thing, access to these professionals who will be able to answer your questions. And we're really excited about the work that we're doing. What else is there? I am finishing up the manuscript with Zoe Rome for our book, Becoming a Sustainable Runner, which will come out next year. I know we initially said it was coming out this year, but we just weren't able to pull it together. And with supply and demand stuff going on, it ended up getting pushed back a few months beyond even what we were originally thinking. So I apologize that it's delayed, but we are working really hard to make it the best book that it can be. And we're very excited about it. And if you want to know more, the best thing you can do is go to runningforreal.com and sign up for the newsletter. And I'll be updating on all of these things as we go. Some other things I've been working on, we've been making sustainable race guidebooks. If you're running the New York City Marathon, you can go ahead and get yourself a sustainable guidebook. That is, we are just a week away as this comes out from New York, but that way you can make your best choices with restaurants that you go to that have plant-based options or that are particularly thoughtful with their ingredients. Or you can also find out what green spaces you can go visit in that area, or what the public transport situation is. My team, especially Sally, broke it down into a very easy way for you to understand. So you can utilize public transport. You can make the most of low carbon, low impact ways of getting around the city while you are there. Again, there will be a link to this in the show notes, so you can go check it out. But you can also find it at runningforreal.com. Is there anything else? I guess it would just be that we are doing a lot here at Running for Real. And I'm very excited about some of the things we have coming up in 2023. There's some new partnerships that aren't traditional kind of offerings of a product. And we feel very excited about them. It is early days, and I'll be honest, it's hard not to get excited about them before, you actually get the opportunity to see where it's going to go. And that's something I struggle with. But so far, I feel very, very hopeful going into 2023. The final part of this episode, I want to spend talking about my running itself, because at the end of the day, that's why many of you initially came over to me in the first place. And so I want to talk about that. But first, I do just want to thank our second sponsor for the day, and that is Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is is the once a day greens powder that I take when I first wake up in the morning. It's the first thing that I do. It's going to fill your nutrient gaps. It's going to promote your gut health, support your whole body vitality. One daily serving delivers a potent blend of 9 health products, a multivitamin, minerals, probiotics, adaptogens, and more that's going to work together to help you feel like your healthiest self. It's foundational nutrition that's just made simpler. Now, as a friend of mine, you can get a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 with 5 travel packs by going to athleticgreens.com/Tina. There'll also be a link in the show notes. But I want to remind you that we are going into the winter. This is my way of making sure that no matter what I end up eating during the day, especially around this Halloween holiday season, where it feels like every day you have some kind of offering of food that you can't really say no to, or it's difficult to say no to, that maybe isn't the best choice for your body. By waking up and having your athletic greens every morning, you are preparing your body in the absolute best way you can. 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food source ingredients that's going to support your immunity with a daily dose of vitamin C, zinc, healing mushrooms, and more. It's going to boost your energy, because it has magnesium in it, that's going to regulate that all-day energy by supporting energy production in our cells. It's packed with superfoods, adaptogens, antioxidants, and it's trusted by some of the world's best endurance athletes, and of course me. Don't put myself in that category. But that one daily serving delivers a comprehensive blend of core health products that work together to fill those gaps in your diet. And it's kind of like an insurance policy that you can start your day with. I absolutely love it. You can go to athleticgreens.com/Tina to go find out more. Okay, so my own running. As you are listening to this, we are 1 week out from the New York City Marathon. I am running it as a guide. The runner I am running with is from Mongolia. His goal is around 350, or at least it was last time I checked, which that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I did a 3.5 hour trail run that was about 20 miles, which I feel definitely prepped me with the amount of vert. That word still feels so weird to me. The amount of vert that I covered. And I hope by the time you've listened to this, I've done one more 20-mile long run so that my body is ready for the impact. But honestly, I'm more nervous about the fact that I have to concentrate for 4 hours. And not only do I have to concentrate, but because he's from Mongolia, there's the additional language barrier. So there may be a lot of uncertainty in terms of him understanding me or how much English he speaks. So honestly, that part makes me very nervous. I worry about screwing up. I worry about him falling over. And I know that that's the thing I try and tell you when I tell you to sign up to be a guide, not to worry about, because the runner's just happy to be out there. But I'll be honest, I still worry about that a bit myself. I also really hope that I'm hosting a All Birds event on the Friday night before the race in New York. And I'm making it this fun, silly scavenger hunt, lighthearted, bringing your non-running friends, your family, people who you usually would see but aren't runners, and they feel a bit weird going to these like panels and shakeouts when they're not really runners. This is a truly inclusive event that I hope we have all kinds of people for. But I'm still putting myself out there. And when I did this in Chicago, I had 2 people when the event started and 5 by the end. And that, as much as I hate to admit it, was a pretty hard hit for the ego, to put yourself out there and have hardly anyone come. Not that I didn't appreciate, I am so thankful to Val, to Alex, to Tiffany and Morty, and to Liz for coming to the event. And I actually don't know the name of Tiffany's husband, coming to the event. I really loved that time with them. But I will be honest, like people in my situation, you get used to kind of having a lot of people show up. And I'm nervous about this All Birds one in New York, that again, it's not going to be a big showing. And I know that's my own issue that needs to let go of the fact that I need a big group and it doesn't say anything about me. And in many cases, a small group is much better. But I'm being honest, and that does worry me. And I think it's such a good idea to do a scavenger hunt and make something about the human beings underneath, not just the running, to distract us from the running for just a few hours so we remember we're humans. But is that what the running community wants? I don't know. And if there's a small turnout for this one, then maybe that's saying, no, we don't really want that. We like the panels. We like the shakeouts. We like the heavily running intense things. So that's also on my mind. I do also, so that if you want to come to that, again, there's a link in the show notes, but that will be on Friday night at the Columbus Circle Allbirds store, which is 201 Columbus Ave, from 5 to 7 p.m. I'm also hosting a Tracksmith shakeout from their store, their pop-up store in Brooklyn, with Tommy Runs, Alex Will, Knox Robinson, and Erica Stanley Dotton. That I'm expecting to be pretty big. I'd love to see you there, but obviously understand whatever your decision is if you are someone going to New York. Beyond that, my own running, I'm trying to figure out what I want it to be. I do feel a bit lost in that way, but what's really on my mind is Sean Martin's Canyon de Chelly. It's a 55K in Navajo Nation. It is very difficult, but I'm tempted. It's not till October next year, but I really am thinking that maybe that will be what I set for. Guess we'll have to find out. Okay, my friends, I am going to wrap here. I want to thank you so much for coming to join me today. I want to encourage you to head on over to Patreon and come support us and the team if you enjoy and appreciate all that I do at Running for Real. That's patreon.com/running for real. I also want to thank Athletic Greens. Not that I'm thanking Patreon, but you know what I mean. I want to thank Athletic Greens, athleticgreens.com/Tina. And I also want to thank Tracksmith. Go check out that Eliot Runner by going to tracksmith.com/Tina. I appreciate you joining me. We had a regular together run this past Monday that was a run in San Francisco with Hella Bay, who's a really cool running crew. Some amazing stories there. This Monday will be a miss as the episode will be on Patreon. It's a very exciting workout we get to do together in California. And my friends, I will see you on Wednesday for a weekly stride and next Friday for a regular episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you soon. The Running for Real podcast and everything we do here at Running for Real would not be possible if it wasn't for the Running for Real team. While I am the person who you hear from most often and maybe the face of the brand, the rest of our team are such critical pieces of what we do. And without them, I think I'd just be running around in circles with ideas. So I want to take a moment to thank our team. To Jeremy Nessel, who's been with me since the very beginning. Kat McKay, Sally Pontarelli, Kelsey Wang, Sandy Gutierrez, Louise Murphy, Andrew Basola, Alexandria Will, and Maria Vargas. Thank you to each and every one of you for all that you give to Running for Real and our community. I appreciate you, and I'm so thankful for having you as a part of the team.